Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Muhammad Osama, and today we are talking about research designs in medical statistics and research. The topic that we're specifically going to be talking about in this part of the lecture is research question and introduction to research design. So let's take a look at the contents of this lecture, in which we're going to talk about a research question, the classification of research designs and what are the different types of research designs, and the hierarchy of evidence, that how different types of study designs stack in the pyramid of hierarchy. So let's start off with what is a research question. So research aims to establish new knowledge around a particular topic, and that happens when different type of questions arises in the minds of different individuals like researchers. So if a new question arises in my mind, that leads to the start of a new research, and then that actually adds to the body of evidence and literature. Now, how these questions come into the mind of researchers and medical professionals? So that can be because of a medical professional or a researcher's own experience or interest in the topic. For example, if he is doing some sort of patients and he notices something and he develops an interest in that special feature of his patients or her patients, so he actually or she actually wants to explore about it. So a question comes into his or her mind, and that is actually the source of that question. The source of research question can also be from a mentor or a senior, listening to our seniors, senior professionals, senior researchers and mentors. And based on their conversations, we can pick out some research topics and research questions that we actually plan to work on. Another source for these questions can be a topic which is commissioned by a funding body, because a lot of researchers are actually working with different type of funding bodies, and they actually receive grants from those funding bodies. And those funding bodies actually have an aim of exploring something. So they have task for those researchers and they give the task to them. So the research question is actually handed over by the funding bodies to the researchers, and they actually work upon it. So that can also be the source of that question. Sometimes the research study follows on directly from a previous study. For example, my research interest is, for example, biomechanics, and I conducted a study on postural ergonomics and biomechanics, and I found different things in that study. And now I came across something which interested me, and that actually opened a new question in my mind to actually work on. And that would be actually the research question and research topic for my next study. So a study can also base on a previous study, and that previous study can be your own study, or it can be someone else's study that you're actually studying or reading, and a question came into your mind reading someone else's study. So that can also be the source of that question. Moreover, on other occasions, it may be a completely new topic or a novel approach to something. So as the research idea grows, question or set of questions are generated in a person's mind. And it is difficult to focus down on specific questions if a topic is broad, like, because if there are so many things which are actually related with that topic, and there are so many interesting things to explore about that topic, so that makes it very hard to write down the questions for your research, your objective, that what you want to work on. So it is better that your research topic should be focused on something. So if it is focused, then it would be easier to decide and define that what you want to find out and what is your research question and objective. So if a scope of study is too vague, too generalized, and there are too many general questions, then the study will be difficult to design. You'd not be able to decide that what would be the best sort of study design for this specific question or objective, as we are also going to talk about the research designs. So these research questions actually are the reason, or they give you the hint that which research design you are going to adopt for your study that you're about to conduct. So the qualities of research questions should be that they should be specific, answerable, novel, and relevant. So if some question is very specific, so it is a good research question. For example, a question should be specific with respect to time, place, subjects, condition. For example, let's take the example of place. So my research topic is that, or my research question is, what is the prevalence of low back pain? And now this is a very generalized question, so it is not a good research question. So what would be a more specific research question? It would be, for example, what is the prevalence of low back pain among farmers? So that is, we define the subjects. So what is the prevalence of low back pain among farmers in Swat? Or for example, what is the prevalence of low back pain among farmers in Pakistan? So I decided the place and subjects as well. So it narrowed it down. So I know where I have to collect my data from, what is going to be my research design. So I made the question more specific. Secondly, the question should be answerable. So if my question is, what is the prevalence of low back pain among farmers in Pakistan? So it is easier for me to answer it because I know that what is going to be the answer. So the answer is going to be in the form of a percentage depending on the data that I collect. And another thing about it should be that, is the data available to me? Like if the data is available, so I can easily get my finding from that data. Or if it is not available, is it easier to be collected? Is it available to be worked upon? So if I can collect it, or is if it is available to me, then it means that the research question is answerable easily, and that is a good research question depending on my resources. Even though based on it should be specific and answerable, it should also be novel. Novel means it should be something which should be new. So if it is not new, it is the same thing and you're repeating it all over again and somebody already has done it, so you're not making a contribution to the evidence, to the knowledge, to the literature. So it should be novel. So for example, if we don't know about something and your research question focuses on that, so that would be a novel thing, and that would be more, and it should be relevant. It should be relevant to your community. It should be relevant to your work area. It should be relevant to what's going on around you. So these are the things that actually matter when deciding what should be your research question. Now, research questions could be descriptive, evaluative, or explanatory. So descriptive research questions are used to answer questions like what is the incidence of a disease, or what is the prevalence of a disease, or something like that. What are the trends and patterns in among the community for something? What is the opinion or knowledge of the individual? Like what is the knowledge of the use of ergonomic chair among office workers? So that is something that is a descriptive research question. And life history of disease. So these are descriptive questions. So there can also be evaluative research questions which actually focus on finding out the effectiveness or efficacy or the safety of different treatment protocols or medicines or drugs or treatment modalities or preventive programs like primary prevention and stuff like that. And these evaluative questions can also be comparative. For example, effectiveness of manual therapy as compared to exercise therapy in the management of low back pain. So I'm actually comparing two things and I want to find out which one of them is more effective. So they can be comparative study designs as well, such as in randomized controlled trials, etc. And research questions can also be explanatory. For example, answering questions such as what are the causes of disease, for which we use studies like cohorts and case control studies, or mechanisms for observed process or actions or events. So these type of studies are actually based upon cohort study designs and case control study designs. So once again, the quality of good research question is it should not be biased, it should be answerable, it should be relevant, it should be intriguing. It should be novel, new, something that actually stimulates your mind. It should be pertinent. Once again, it should be relevant, and it should be focused. It should not be very generalized and very vague. Now, if we have uh, succeeded in pinpointing our research question and deciding our research question, now we can actually decide that which research design best suits our research question. But for that, we need to know that what are the different type of research designs that we have. So we are just going to briefly look at the classification of the different type of research designs, which we are going to take a look into the detail in the next sections. So here we have research designs, which are actually majorly of two types, which is quantitative and qualitative. And in right now, we are majorly focusing on the quantitative type of study design. So in quantitative type of study design, there are two major types: the observational and interventional. So in observational, there are further two major types: descriptive and analytical. So descriptive study designs are actually used to answer descriptive questions, and analytical study designs are used to answer explanatory questions, as we talked about. So in descriptive studies, we have case reports based on single patients, case series based on series of unique patients, and cross-sectional surveys. On the other hand, analytical studies comprise of cross-sectional comparative studies, case control studies, and cohort studies. On the other hand, interventional studies, in which there is experimentation, in which there is a treatment, in which there is an intervention given to the patients or the participants, then that type of studies are actually interventional, and they can again be of two types: randomized, such as randomized control trials, and non-randomized, such as quasi-experimental trials, which we are going to look at into detail in the next sections. Now, hierarchy of evidence. Now, these type of research designs actually stack in the literature, stack in the evidence in terms of priority, and which study design is kept at a higher level is actually the randomized control trial, which is at the highest level. So the lowest level is actually case series and case reports, which are actually descriptive type of studies, and cross-sectional studies, which are actually again descriptive type of studies. Above these descriptive type studies come the analytical studies, such as case control studies and cohort studies, and above them comes the interventional studies, in which there is quasi-experimental and randomized control trial. Randomized control trial is superior to quasi-experimental, because in randomized control trial there's randomization and there's less chance of bias. And above that, there are actually review articles such as systemic reviews, meta-analysis, and literature reviews. But those type of studies are actually not original research, so we haven't talked about, or we haven't mentioned them in our classification of different type of research designs, because those are actually review articles which are based on these type of articles or manuscripts. So that was all about the research questions and research designs. I hope it was beneficial for you in understanding it. So keep on watching sqadia.com. Thank you.